Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2002 Hyundai Elantra, and the Hyundais are notorious for a problem with the lower control arms. They actually, right by the ball, you know what, I'm going to show you one that I did on the other side already. Ball joint, it starts to rust away and rot out, and you wind up with a failure of the control arm. And as you can see here, you can see where it started to rot away. This obviously would be the way it's situated in the car is like this, and it rots away inside here. What happens, water gets inside the control arm, it just lays inside there, and it slowly rots it away from the inside out. So that's what we're gonna be replacing. Let me show you what's gonna happen, and then we'll get up there and we'll go get started. And the next thing we're gonna do now is we're gonna take out the lower ball joint, the bolt on the lower ball joint. Okay, then once you have the ball joint, the nut off the ball joint, we're going to separate the lower control arm from the knuckle. Now, there's two different ways you can do it. You could bang it with a hammer and get it out of there. They actually have a fork that you can, let me stand on this side. Okay, now we're going to pry down on the lower control arm to remove the ball joint from the knuckle itself. And you can see the axle is now loose. Now if you have an air gun you can use it, but if you don't have an air gun you can get in there with an extension on your ratchet and you'll be able to take them out. Now I just want to point out one more thing. Once we get this out of here, you'll see there's a shim on the back right over here. It's important that you take that shim and you put that on the new lower control arm when you reassemble it. So don't forget, you're going to need to put that back on. As you can see, we sprayed that up with some penetrating oil. It'll make it come out a lot easier. The other side is up. As you can see, this one is not as rotted out as the other one, but you could see it was coming, so it is logical to change both of them at this point. This is the shim that I was telling you about, right on the side right here. This needs to come off like that, and we need to put this onto the new control arm before we reassemble it. So let's grab the new arm and we'll continue. Okay, always match up your control arm to make sure you have the correct arm. As you can see, this one looks like that it is the correct one. But we're going to take it, we're going to put it over the top like this, and we're going to make sure everything lines up just the way it's supposed to. And as you can see, everything is the same. All right, now remember we talked about this shim right over here. We're going to take this off just like this, and then we're going to put it back on like that. And now we'll take this back over to the car, and we'll put it back together. Okay, now we'll take the control arm. We'll put the control arm in, and we're going to get this back bolt in first up there, because the back bolt, it has to be perfectly straight to get it to line up. The ones in the front are a little bit easier. You want to definitely catch it by hand. You don't want to use an air gun on it. All right, now once you have that caught, before we tighten that up any further, we still have everything loose. We're going to reconnect the front part of the control arm in here. Again, just screwing everything in by hand. And as you notice, we have never seize or anti-seize, whatever you want to call it, on everything here. Make sure your shim is in position. And then once you have them caught and you catch them by a couple threads, then you can shoot it in with your air gun or you can turn it in with your ratchet. But it's important that you catch everything by hand first before you tighten up anything. And now we're going to come in here with the air gun and we're going to tighten everything up. Now there is torque specs to put that bolt in. We're not going to do it right now. We're going to come back to that after we get it back in. Okay, now we're going to cut away. We're going to actually get the torque wrench and we're going to make sure these bolts are torqued down to the proper foot-pounds. So let me torque them in and then we'll come right back. Now we're going to pry down on the lower control arm just so we can get the ball joint back into the knuckle where it's supposed to be. And then once we have that in there, now we can put our nut back onto the lower ball joint and then we'll tighten up that nut. Okay, and our ball joint is nice and tight now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the nut on the axle here and we're just going to screw it on temporarily. Okay, and we'll catch the nut by hand. We'll just screw it on and this has to be air gun back in now. We are going to get the torque specs to tighten this up to the proper foot-pounds, so we're just going to tighten it up temporarily right now and then we'll come back to that. Okay, now we're going to look it up to get the proper torque specs on this, and we will torque it down to where it's supposed to be. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.